We, the internet-loving people, want super-fast internet where we can download 25 songs in 1 second. To show you how super fast that is, here's 25 songs in 1 second. Pretty sweet, right? DJ, give them another 25. Now, hit them with something they can dance to. You feeling that? Oh yeah. Super fast internet. AT&T Fiber.
Limited availability. Speeds vary, not guaranteed. Speed and time examples or estimates. Visit att.com/getfiber for details.
In 1995, John Suk founded Deep Elm Records. Today, 20 years later, Deep Elm Records boasts over 220 releases. We celebrate the pioneering spirit and the awesome artists that make up Deep Elm Records each week here on the unofficial Deep Elm Podcast. The unofficial Deep Elm Podcast begins now. You are listening to the unofficial Deep Elm Podcast, available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and recorded live every Saturday night, only on Spreaker.com. That great music you just heard was from a band called Late Night Condition. Hello, anybody. This is Wayne here on the unofficial Deep Elm podcast, episode 16 or thereabouts. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of the program. Tonight, we showcase a band that is from Buenos Aires, Argentina, the first signing from South America of Deep Elm Records, and they are called Late Night Condition. They just released a new album called Back on Track after a multi-year hiatus, and tonight we're going to give you a little bit of background on them. Get you up to speed, let you get to know the band. They answered some questions for me, which I will be reading off in just a short while. But what you heard there was Midnight Confessions. This album was completed in 2004 and was re-released worldwide on Deep Elm. It features the 4 songs that put the band's unique blend of alternative grunge, punk, and modern rock on the radar. Imagine the Alkaline Trio if they lived in Buenos Aires. Midnight Confessions starts with The Calling, which is the first song you heard, undoubtedly the hit of the band and the album so far. Track 2 is Despair, a very good song, absolutely catchy. No doubt, this is the second hit of the album. But after listening to the full EP a few times, surely this will be your new favorite song. Track 3, Undefeated Army, a good song that denotes a great style, very nice cuts, and excellent execution. Track 4, On the Watch, is quieter than the rest of the album, and with a short but very catchy chorus. Very good debut material from Late Night Condition, a remarkable recording quality, rarely found in the local scene in Argentina. Reminds me a lot of bands like Further Seems Forever in certain selections. Do not hesitate to pay attention to Late Night Condition and this excellent EP. That was a review that was from Recis, R-E-C-I-S, that is posted up on the Deep Elm website. Those first 2 tracks, The Calling and Despair, open up the album Midnight Confessions, which, as I said, was released on the Deep Elm label, and you can get that album, the full 4-track album, on a name-your-price basis at www.deepelm.com. If you want to hear that third song, Undefeated Army, go to deepelm.com. If you like the first 2, you'll love the third one. Well, I had a chance to speak with, or correspond with, members of the band, Fur and Alex, and they were very nice, very cool guys. I wanted to get them on the air to discuss what was going on in their minds, their whole hiatus, and just everything Late Night Condition. I was trying to get them on the air, but we did run into some issues. So we decided that it would be best if they sent me their answers to the questions that I would ask. So this is from Alex, the lead singer of the band. The band also features Nicholas DeJaneiro, his brother, on guitar. Alex plays vocals and guitar. Pablo Rodriguez is on bass, and Fernando Perewoski is on the drums. I asked, how did you guys get together and form a band? Well, Pablo, the bass player, and Alex, the vocalist and lead guitarist, went to school together since kindergarten. Both of them had their separate bands, and at the age of 18, they got together to form a band called The Jinxed, and were searching for drummers when they found Fernando, who goes by the name of Fur. After a couple of years and several shows, the band split, and Pablo, Fur, and Alex formed Late Night Condition and asked Nico, who is Nicholas DeJaneiro, to join in as the lead guitarist. I asked, who did you listen to growing up, your influences? And the reply I got from Alex was a lot of stuff. Ramones, Misfits, Black Flag, Bad Religion, NoFX, Lagwagon, Pixies, Weezer, Alkaline Trio, Jimmy Eat World, The Beatles, Bob Marley, Metallica, Nirvana, Green Day, Saves the Day, Sam I Am, and Face to Face. So quite a mixture there. You have the grunge aspect of Nirvana, the metal of Metallica, the reggae of Bob Marley. You have the alternative mainstream sound of Jimmy Eat World. You have the hard punk of Bad Religion and NoFX, and then you go straight to punk royalty when you talk about the Ramones and the newly reformed Misfits. That's going to be awesome. Trying to get a ticket to that show is going to be absolutely ridiculous. So, what we're going to do is we're going to play some music from their second album. I mean, if I played the whole first album on here, why would you need to download it? You could just get the podcast and play it over and over and over and over and over again. No, I'm not going to do that. I am going to instead play just a few tracks that I have chosen, and which I'm sure you're going to like, and then that's going to drive you to www.deepelm.com and make you name your price. The next album that they released was called Give and Take, and the album description goes like this: Late Night Conditions, smart punk-derived pop, is potent in its simplicity, glimmering steadily beneath Give and Take's theme of emotional adversity and hardship, overflowing with catchy modern rock guitar riffs, pounding beats, and expressive vocals that combust these radio-friendly cluster bombs with their emotional urgency. It's almost as if LNC is set out to help their listeners find comfort in the darkness. It's this exquisite balance of complacency and misery that you can't help but get caught up in, even when it's delivered all the way from Buenos Aires. With lyrical references to fantasies, nightmares, dreams, restlessness, and even painkillers, this album comfortingly chronicles many of the, quote, late-night conditions shared by us all. We've all been in love, had our hearts broken, lost a good friend, new betrayal, defeat, anxiety. We've all had something that made us happy or sad. I just describe how I feel and how I think most people feel when they are going through these emotions. Music itself also inspires us to make music. This is Alex talking. It's endless and it never hurts, or maybe it does hurt, but when it's done right, it hurts so good. Give and Take is polished, smooth, and solid. The kind of debut every band tries for, but few actually deliver. Now, this was the debut on the Deep Elm label. Remember, the first track was a re-release. And so we're going to hear a couple from this album. We're going to hear the opening track called Savior. Then we are going to hear a track called Selfish Dream. And then we are going to hear a track called Everything for a Kiss. Savior, Selfish Dream, and Everything for a Kiss. My name is Wayne, and I run the unofficial Deep Elm podcast. Remember, go visit www.deepelm.com. Name your price on their entire catalog. It is independence at its most pure. Music, you name your own price. www.deepelm.com. Don't go anywhere. The unofficial Deep Elm podcast will be back with more facts about Late Night Condition, tonight's featured artist. But right now, Savior from the album Give and Take.
Savior of our memories.
You are listening to the unofficial Deep Elm podcast, available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and recorded live every Saturday night, only on Spreaker.com. You are listening to the unofficial Deep Elm podcast, available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and recorded live every Saturday night, only on Spreaker.com.
For you it's more than just a phrase. Gradually we took the steps that got us to this place. Can you take a photograph? There's nothing left to show. And maybe you should know that I would have killed for you 10 times everything for a kiss. Another ending, another broken heart. The price I'm paying, 'cause you are gone. I would have killed for you. 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 10 times everything for a kiss.
Those cuts were from the second album on the Deep Elm label, from Late Night Condition, although it is described as their debut because the first album that came out was the re-release. Tonight we are focusing on Buenos Aires Argentinian band Late Night Condition, and I'm going to read you a few reviews, and then we're going to get to some of the questions I asked and some of the answers from the band. First review comes from Alt Sounds. Quote, "This is a beautifully produced album from the Argentinian four-piece. Freshly under the wing of the highly selective Deep Elm Records, they give us a delightfully polished offering. A masterfully structured album, Give and Take is packed with life and vibrant energy. The sound is streaked with sunshine, although the lyrics are bitter and emotionally packed, and the vocals swim yearningly throughout. It is definitely from the heart, which is a rarity in this cynical, gray, concrete world." Another review from Go to 11. Quote, "I'm not sure how Late Night Condition has remained under the radar, because their mix of alternative grunge punk and modern rock pretty much parallels anything in those genres that has been co-opted by the mainstream in the past 2 decades. Hailing from Buenos Aires, Argentina, Give and Take, the band's debut LP." They keep saying it's their debut. They put one out earlier, guys. Come on now. So, the band's debut LP undoubtedly will garner Late Night Condition new fans worldwide thanks to their alliance with Deep Elm Records, who are also reissuing the original 4-song EP titled Midnight Confessions. A very polished effort, Give and Take is full of endless modern rock guitar riffs, silky smooth vocals, and meticulously detailed punk-inspired pop songs about defeat, anxiety, betrayal, and losing good friends. Gritty enough for the world of fiercely independent rock, but also radio-friendly enough to appeal to anyone with a penchant for anything related to rock and roll. Late Night Condition could easily be the next big thing. As a reference point, think Alkaline Trio if they lived in Seattle in the early 90s and recorded on Sub Pop. For fans of Anne Boleyn, Brand New, and Copeland. So, pretty gleaming reviews there. And we get into what made them seek out Deep Elm Records. Alex writes, "Fur and Pablo liked some bands that were signed by Deep Elm. There were great bands as well on Deep Elm's famous compilation, The Emo Diaries. Also, we always liked having our independence, and we felt that Deep Elm allowed us to release our album without any impositions. Deep Elm is a label that most of all cares about the artists and the music itself, and then comes everything else. That was the main reason we chose Deep Elm." I asked, "How did it feel to release your first album on Deep Elm?" And Alex writes, "For us, it felt like we had made it at the time. Coming from Argentina, where no band has ever been signed by any American punk or rock label whatsoever, made us feel special. It made us feel that we were on the right track, and also having someone such as John, who lives on the other corner of the world with all the material he receives, supporting the band is very reassuring for us. We are very happy to be a part of the Deep Elm family. Okay, let's see. I just lost the questions, by the way. I'm reading this on a tablet, so pardon me for just a moment. Here we go. Okay. And then I went into why they took some time off between albums, because this was all released around 2005, 2006, and then there was a break of like 10 years. Alex writes, a lot of things happened in between. We never stopped playing, but had to slow things down. Unfortunately, in Argentina, it is very hard to live off music. So as we grew up, there were situations that left us with little time to rehearse and get together to make music. We all had personal problems of some sort that forced us to leave the band in the background, but fortunately, all those problems are gone, and we can't wait to start playing live shows again. So, Late Night Condition suffers from pretty much the same thing that so many independent bands suffer from, which is the need to make a living. And if you don't make it huge, and I mean overly huge, then you cannot make a living in music anymore. It's like podcasting. You're never going to make a living. Podcasting, you just don't, it just doesn't happen unless you put in a lot of hard work and dedication. But in the meantime, it seems these bands have to find something to fill the table and to pay their bills. So that's why they took a hiatus, a very lengthy hiatus. So when I saw that Late Night Condition was coming back with another album, I thought, Late Night Condition, they were one of those bands I'd written off as dead, to be honest with you, because I couldn't get any information on them. When I was doing my research for this podcast, there were a lot of bands that had just faded into obscurity. Lots of links to websites that didn't work anymore. Lots of links to MySpace pages that were defunct for many, many years. I mean, it was like looking through a graveyard. And it was all of these people who had dreams, who were signed to Deep Elm, who decided to go another direction with their lives. But Late Night Condition, the love of the music is what was most important for these gentlemen. And they decided that they were going to put out another album. After they got all of their life straightened out and everything taken care of, they put out this new album which dropped this week called Back on Track, and we are going to hear 2 tracks from that album. By the way, if you liked what you heard about Give and Take, and I hate to be a broken record, but you're taught in radio that, especially in the advertising portion, you need to repeat things like 3 times. So I'm going to keep repeating this. www.deepelm.com. You can name your price. Now, somebody did ask me a question. They said, well, what if I want to pay 2 cents for this? Well, there is a minimum purchase, 50 cents per single, $1 per album. But think about it. Think about all the albums you spent $20 on. Think about all the albums that you've spent all this money on, all of the box sets that are like $100. I mean, to get quality music for just $1, one single solitary dollar, to get an entire album of quality music that you can spin over and over and over and over again, it's a hell of a deal. And this band, Late Night Condition, is on the Name Your Price train at deepelm.com. 200 by Late Night Condition, one of the tracks off of their new album Give and Take, and then Countdown are coming up next. And then I will conclude with reviews and the final questions that I asked of the band. Stay tuned. More to come on the unofficial Deep Elm podcast. From Buenos Aires, Argentina, Late Night Condition. And this is from their new album, Back on Track.
Moving at the speed of light, feeling out of time, moving at the speed of light. Now I know there is no turning back. I can get through the worst disaster. It's just so easy to fall. I need to change the course of action. I need to find a grip to control. Releasing the compression like stone. Feeling out of place and out of time. Moving at the speed of light. Feeling out of place and out of time. Moving at the speed of light. Out of place and out of time. Moving at the speed of light. Now I know there is no turning back.
You are listening to the unofficial Deep Elm podcast, available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and recorded live every Saturday night, only on Spreaker.com. If you come down, I will help you stay relaxed, easy and peaceful. The quiet of the night, and the countdown is running way too fast. So could you believe me when everybody lies? If you're frightened, I can help you shake it off. Don't look at the creatures that crawl out of the dark. Confusing, distracted every time. They are so deceiving. They'll hurt you if they can. There's no magic word, potion, or spell you can ever hide from it. There's a short collision walking this path. It ain't easy, it will complicate. You cannot escape from it. There's a short collision walking this path. If you think you're safe, I'm not the one. If you come down, I will help you stay relaxed, easy and peaceful. The quiet of the night, and the countdown is running way too fast. How could you believe me when everybody lies? There's no magic word, potion, or spell you can never hide from it. There's a short collision walking this path. It ain't easy, it will complicate. You cannot escape from it. There's a short collision walking this path. If you think you're safe, I'm not the one. That is a hell of a track. That's my favorite track on the whole album. Countdown from Late Night Condition. And this is the unofficial Deep Elm podcast. I'm Wayne with you here. And this band, Late Night Condition, has just put out an album called Back on Track. And that track is from Back on Track. Some of the early returns about this album, I'm going to read some of them to you. With powerful guitar riffs, driving bass, meticulous drums, and soothing vocals on standout tracks including 200 Countdown and One Good Feeling, it's as if Late Night Condition has set out to help their listeners find light in the darkness. Alejandro De Gennaro's nasal croon, which I don't think would be considered to be a positive thing, but listen to the rest of the review, is just one of the many stars of the show. His vocal delivery has been compared to that of Chris Cornell, which I could hear, Matt Skiba from Blink-182. And I heard the new Blink-182. I wasn't too impressed, but still, rock masters there. Matt Skiba, Blink-182, and Colin Hay from Men at Work. I hear that too. So very, very well described description of the vocals. It's the raw honesty in his vocals and the hard-fought determination to transcend and overcome life's woes expressed in the lyrics that you can't help but get caught up in, even when delivered all the way from Buenos Aires, polished smooth with impressive craftsmanship. This is the kind of follow-up to a well-received debut that every band tries for but few actually deliver. Back on Track will undoubtedly placate anyone who dares think Deep Elm Records has abandoned its early rock and punk roots. There were some questions about where Deep Elm Records was going with their whole sound because of the post-rock revolution, because bands like Lights in Motion, U-137, Moonlit Sailor, but they've put out 2 great releases that are just pure rock, pop rock, punk rock by Late Night Condition, as well as Sons of London. So that just tells you that Deep Elm Records has, it's not just a punk label. A lot of these indie labels are just metal labels, punk labels, alt-rock labels. You can find everything for every taste on Deep Elm, and this album is one of the prime examples. Now, continuing my interview with Alex here, I ask, what brought you guys back in the studio to record this latest album? He says, we never split up. We all knew that one way or another we were going to record another album. It was just a matter of time. Like I said, we all had personal problems, and once we solved that, we knew we had to continue with what we know how to do best, and that is to make music. Once we got together, the songs started flowing, and we rushed back into the studio as soon as we could. We love being in the studio, recording, and trying new stuff. The interview goes on. I ask, what inspired the album? Okay, my tablet. What inspired the album? Oh, man. This is not cool. My tablet keeps flipping. It's very strange. What inspired the album title Back on Track? He basically says, Alex says, it sums up where we are right now. For several years, we felt derailed because we could not dedicate ourselves to the band, and that is an awful sensation. Back on Track has that title because we are doing what we were meant to do, no matter what obstacles life throws in our way. We are certain that we are on the right track again. We are back on track. I ask, what does the future hold for Late Night Condition? He says, the future is uncertain. But there is one thing for sure. LNC is our past, our present, and our future. And hopefully we'll get to rock on until we are old guys. Can we expect one more in the coming years, I ask? And he says, you can expect a lot more shows, tours, and records. And finally, I end the interview with, what would you like to say to your fans? Alex says, thank you for listening, for all your patience, and that we really hope to see you soon. We'd like to tour the United States someday soon, and Europe, of course, South America, and everywhere we can. Late Night Condition, featured on this evening's unofficial Deep Elm podcast. Visit the website for the podcast, www.unofficialdeepelmpodcast.com. Also visit the SoundCloud page, soundcloud.com/Deep Elm Podcast. And cannot forget, look us up on iTunes. That's right, iTunes. Look up Unofficial Deep Elm Podcast, and we will come right up. So check all those out. Check out the archives, all of the great bands. And of course, I want to say thank you to John from Deep Elm. I want to say thank you to all of the supporters of this label, because without the support of people out there like you going at deepelm.com, naming your own price, this show wouldn't exist. Deep Elm wouldn't exist. It'd be a terrible thing. So Thank you to everyone, John for being so supportive, the label for being so supportive, and thank you for listening to the unofficial Deep Elm podcast. We're going to end with the song Countdown again, because I just love that song. Thank you for listening. This is Wayne, and until next time, always stay independent.
Only AT&T offers unlimited data with HBO included. And you never pay overages. Plus, save $25 a month on DirecTV. It's entertainment your way. After 22 gigabytes of data usage, AT&T may slow speeds. Include Stream Saver and videos will stream in standard definition unless you turn it off. $25 DirecTV discount requires eligible video service. Credits start within 3 bill cycles. Service prices subject to change. Other restrictions apply. Visit your nearest AT&T store.